It was simply a side comment. We expected nothing from it.
Sure. Before we move on, the other thing I do want to point, just make a little bit of a quick connection here with the Flames in the sense of not Noel Brown, but Darryle Sutter was brought in mid-season, but I would not be surprised if we do see some change in the assistant coach, just because I think Darryle Sutter would probably obviously want some of his staff there. I haven't heard anything one way or the other, but that is a possibility. And I'm not connecting that Noel Brown will join the Flames. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that's another place to watch for assistant coaches going forward.
I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about that just yet. I think a fresh voice that's been outside of Alberta and the Flames organization would be huge for them. You look at that coaching staff, and we'll take out the goaltending coaches because it's a little bit different. But you've got Ray Edwards, and he's been in the organization for years. Martin Gelinas, again, and Ryan Huska, they've all been in the organization for years, and I think it's time to bring in some fresh eyes, a new voice, and to sort of tie this in with why the Canucks brought in Brad Shaw is that Travis Green talked about how he does think things differently than he does. He does have a different idea of what needs to be done, and he needs to have a dissenting voice every once in a while to be able to take that next step. Like we talk about just the locker room, about being a little bit stale or needing a shakeup with the Flames. I think I think you have to look at that from top to bottom with the organization. They've replaced between Hartley, Gulletson, Peters, Jeff Ward, and Darryle Sutter. How many of the assistants are still around?
About an hour after we were off the air with our podcast yesterday, the Calgary Flames announced that they have brought in Kirk Muller and Cail MacLean to be the assistant coaches, and Ray Edwards and Martin Gelinas have been moved to player development. We discussed that coaching change today on the Hockey Podcast.
And prophetically, and somewhat just at a casual, I thought was, I just wanted to point out that the Flames had a situation with assistant coaches that I thought that they had to make a decision on, or I would think would be making a decision on. And lo and behold, what happens? About what? It was a little bit after, about an hour after we got off the air yesterday, that the Flames announced that Kirk Muller and Cail MacLean were joining the staff, and Martin Gelinas and Ray Edwards were moved into a player personnel role. Muller was in there were rumors he was going on with the Canucks, but ultimately they went with Brad Shaw. Kirk Muller has won cups he won a cup with the 93. He was part of that 93 Habs team, the last Canadian team that won the Stanley Cup. He's been a head coach in the NHL. He was recently an assistant coach with Claude Julien with the Montreal Canadiens the season. And Cail MacLean was the head coach of the Stockton Heat this year. And I think these are two really good hires. I think you bring in a Kirk Muller. I think he's undetermined what the role specifically will be, but it sounds like it's going to be forwards power play. I think it's a guy that you bring in that can help the centers play that position more responsibly, and more of what Darryle Sutter is looking for. That type of center. He's got some respect and some clout for sure. And a little bit of that good cop, bad cop stuff can happen when you got Darryle Sutter and his gruffiness, and Kirk Muller's. It comes off a little bit as a nice guy. And Cail MacLean is a good add too, because Cail MacLean just retired from hockey, played hockey 10 years ago. So I think he's more in touch with what the current players' needs are. So I'm really happy with both of these hires. I think great hires by the Flames staff, and yeah, I'm excited for that for the Flames. I know you're not, but that's so fine.
But the Kirk Muller hiring is a good one for the Flames. He gets eyes from outside the organization, which was one of the big things I said that they needed to do, because I think they've been way too reliant on bringing in just like Marty Gelinas, a great hockey player, probably a decent coach, but I think it was time to get some fresh eyes. Hasn't been a part of this organization, hasn't been part of this futile few years where they've gone through how many head coaches and they really haven't changed too much of the assistant the coaching staff under those coaches. So I think it was a good hire. Cail MacLean was the head coach of the Stockton Heat last year, as well as the year before, and has been a head coach in ECHL. Was an assistant coach with the Abbotsford Heat for a couple years. He's put his time in, and it'll be interesting to see how things go with these two additions with this and the subtractions of Ray Edwards and Martin Gelinas, because as I said, I think I said when we discussed this yesterday that you have to look through this whole organization. It can't just be players in terms of why something just isn't right with this organization. You've got the skill, you've got the Goudreau, the Kachucks, the Monahans, the Lindholms. You had you're 2 years removed from Norris Trophy winner Mark Giordano. Like what is holding this team back? And you have to do a full organization sweep and evaluation. And I think bringing in fresh eyes in Kirk Muller and someone a little bit younger in Cail MacLean, who, you said he retired in 2007, after the 2007-2008 season. Took a year off and was already the head coach of the South Carolina Stingrays in the ECHL as his first notable job at post playing career. It's going to be something to watch to see what if anything big changes that they make, whether systems wise or even just how detail oriented Muller and Cail MacLean can be to try and help the Calgary Flames get back into the playoffs and become a contender that they think they can be.
Well, there's two things that I think that this signifies. The first thing that I think it underlies is something that Darryle Sutter said a few times about the young players, and it's that sense of entitlement. And you look at a guy like Cail MacLean, you look at his career, that is a guy that has had to go through the tour hockey to get to where he has had to be. He has not been entitled to anything, and I think that message in that dressing room and at his age, I think is going to resonate. And Kirk Muller is also, he was he wasn't a guy that was entitled to anything either. He had to work and earn everything himself. He was never a superstar in the National Hockey League. He was, the way he played, it was hardworking, grinding, defensive, sort of that kind of old school way. So I think that the hires on that level, in a psychological level, to me, tell me that is one of the things that they are needing to weed out. And maybe if you're a really deep critic of what the Flames have had, there has been, I think, a bit of a sense. I don't think Darryle Sutter's wrong with the sense of entitlement. I think that that's something that has permeated through the organization a little bit, and I think that they're addressing that. But the second thing to me, what is telling me here is this is not the last of major changes. And I do think to me that we're indicating some major changes are coming in Calgary. And I don't think I'm telling tales out of school, but I'm getting pretty confident we're going to have a foundational core piece move here. That to me is what's indicated here. I mean, I could be wrong, but
is there anyone off limits other than Markstrom who's got a no movement clause?
I don't know. I wonder if I'm not saying that you move Markstrom. I would not move Markstrom. Is there anyone off limit? I think the two closest to off limits is Kachuk, but there's a possibility there, and maybe Lindholm. I would not. I like Lindholm. I think he brings some versatility to the lineup, but those would be as close to I'm not moving as they have.
Yeah. You ideally you do want to, but maybe you want to keep the top end players and shakes things up elsewhere. And what would shake things up more than moving, say someone like Mangiapane, who is someone we're moving up, and say, look, we want to keep you guys, but we had to make a move here.
Yeah, fair.
I think that'd be a little bit galaxy braining it, but I think that you're right. I think we are going to see a seismic trade, a franchise-changing trade this offseason with the Flames.
Well, look at this from the other side of this, from another general manager's point of view, just for a quick second. If I'm a team and I look at this, if I was to let's just say for a second that you cannot protect any players for the Seattle Kraken. Gary Bettman woke up this morning and said, "You know what? Everyone's free. Kraken can take wherever you want, one player. No one's protected." I would be thinking if I'm the Kraken that I might be considering Andrew Mangiapane a little higher than a Johnny Gaudreau, maybe, or I might be plugging an Elias Lindholm if I could. So maybe you look at that from the sense of what you get for value from the Flames perspective. You're like, maybe you trade a Mangiapane because he's going to get you value, and maybe someone will overpay for him. I'm not saying that I think he's got an upside for sure. But maybe someone will overpay for him. Who knows?
Yeah, we're still talking about a player who hasn't hit 20 goals yet. Right?
Yeah.
He, as much as he looks like he is, and in a shortened season, that his 18 goals and 56 is a 20 goal pace. It's more. Let me quickly do the math on that. But it's that's 26 goals, and I think there's still another level he can go to, especially if he moves up the lineup and is playing with not playing third line minutes. So I think he has some value. And how we talk about Jack Eichel being damaged goods. How damaged goods are Gaudreau and Monahan right now with all this